For the last 100 years or so, our world has been pretty much built for one type of person: the go-getter, the charismatic speaker, the one who's always on. But something really interesting has started to happen. The digital age, with all its constant noise and distractions, has accidentally created a whole new playing field. And it's one where the quiet, the focused, the deep thinkers are suddenly finding they have this incredible hidden advantage. So let's get into how this quiet revolution is completely reshaping our world. So I want to start with a question that's really at the core of all this. What if this ideal we've all been chasing, in school, at work, in our social lives, what if it's been pointing us in the completely wrong direction? What if the real key to thriving in the future isn't about learning to be louder, but about getting a whole lot quieter? To really get why this is such a huge deal, we've got to rewind the clock a bit. Around the turn of the 20th century, there was this massive cultural earthquake, especially in America and the West. We basically shifted from caring about who you are on the inside to being obsessed with how you come across on the outside. And this chart really breaks it down perfectly. We went from a culture of character, where things like discipline and honor, your inner moral compass, were what mattered most, to a culture of personality. All of a sudden, the ideal person was a performer, someone charming, bold, and captivating. The whole game shifted from your private integrity to your public image. And look, this wasn't just some abstract idea. It fundamentally rewired our institutions. Back in the 1950s, a dean at Yale literally said the university had little use for the brilliant introvert. They wanted the sociable, active type, the person that big corporations would want to hire in 4 years. The entire system started selecting for extroversion. And if you were an introvert, you were often made to feel like you had to fake it, to change your very nature just to get by. Okay, so that begs a pretty important question. What even is an introvert? For decades, it's gotten all mixed up with being shy or antisocial. But that's a huge misunderstanding of what's actually going on. The key thing to remember is this: it all comes down to energy. Introversion isn't about whether you like people or not. It's an energy management style. It's about how you recharge your internal battery. So while hanging out with friends might be fun, for an introvert, it drains that battery. And the only way to charge it back up is with some quiet, alone time. Yeah, think of it like this. Introverts are like rechargeable batteries, and extroverts are more like solar panels. One needs to plug into solitude to recharge, while the other gets its power from the energy of the outside world. And this one little difference affects everything. It explains why introverts often prefer a few deep friendships over a huge circle of acquaintances. It even affects how their brains are wired. Introverts tend to have more complex neural pathways, which means they're more likely to think and reflect before they act. And that need for solitude, it isn't a weakness, it's a superpower. Just look at Steve Wozniak, the engineering wizard who co-founded Apple. He flat out says that his introverted nature, all that time he spent alone just tinkering, was the exact reason he was able to have his breakthroughs. Solitude is the soil where deep thinking and creativity really get to grow. Okay, so let's fast forward to today. The arrival of the digital age has basically put everything on hyperspeed. On the one hand, it's created this absolute storm of constant noise and pressure to perform online. But on the other hand, it's also given us tools that, if you use them right, can be an introvert's absolute dream. But first, let's be really clear about the challenge here. As Bill Maher puts it, a lot of these digital platforms we use every day are not designed to make us happy. They're designed to get us hooked, to keep us scrolling, performing, and chasing approval. It's basically the culture of personality on steroids. And the way they do it is by basically hacking our brain's wiring. They tap into that deep, fundamental human need for social approval, and then they give us these little unpredictable rewards, a like here, a comment there, that are just enough to keep us coming back for that next little hit of dopamine. And all this constant, shallow interaction can actually leave us feeling more alone, not more connected. So, how do you fight back against all that? Well, there's this philosophy called digital minimalism that's basically a playbook for it. The idea isn't to reject technology, but to use it on your own terms, not compulsively. And simple things like these, resisting the urge to like everything, or setting specific times to check texts, they're all about reclaiming your focus. It's a very introverted approach to a very hyper-extroverted digital world. And this is where the whole story really pivots. Because while a lot of people are feeling like they're drowning in all this digital noise, introverts are starting to realize that the skills they've been cultivating in quiet their whole lives, those are becoming the most valuable assets in this new economy. A quiet revolution is definitely underway. So first up is the rise of what's called deep work. In a world where distraction is everywhere, the ability to just shut out all the noise and focus intensely on one hard thing, that has become a genuine superpower. This is the skill that produces groundbreaking code, that develops new scientific theories, that comes up with brilliant business strategies, and it's a skill that introverts, who are already comfortable with solitude and concentration, are just naturally wired for. And then, think about remote work. For decades, the open-plan office, with the constant interruptions and the pressure to always look busy, was an absolute energy-draining nightmare for introverts. This massive shift to remote and hybrid work is a total game changer. It lets people control their own environment and manage their energy. And even more importantly, it shifts the focus from just looking busy to your actual results, rewarding thoughtful work over just having the quickest answer in a loud meeting. And this all extends to the creator economy too. I mean, think about it. The digital age has empowered the individual creator, the writer on Substack, the expert on YouTube, the artist building their own community. Success in this world is less and less about who you know or how well you schmooze at a party, and more about what you know. It's a world that rewards depth and expertise, things that are built in quiet solitude. So, what's the takeaway from all of this? Well, whether you're an introvert, an extrovert, or you're somewhere in the middle, the message is really the same. The world is finally making room for different ways of being. It's time to stop trying to be someone you're not and just embrace your nature. I just love this quote from Susan Cain. It's such a great metaphor. It's a call to really look at yourself, your personality, your preferences, how you get your energy. These aren't flaws you need to fix. They're your strengths. You just need to understand what's in your suitcase so you can learn how to best use it. The big takeaway here is that we can all learn something from this. If you're an introvert, it's about trusting your instincts. That independence you feel, that's a powerful asset for innovation. If you're a leader, this is your wake-up call. Up to half your team might be introverted, so it's time to create environments where deep thinkers can actually, think. And for all of us, it's about finally getting that in our noisy, distracted world. A little more quiet might be exactly what we need for our next big breakthrough. And that is the thought I really want to leave you with. For a century, we've put the talkers up on a pedestal, but the future just might belong to the people who've mastered the power of quiet observation, of deep focus, and of thoughtful action. In a world that just won't stop talking, the greatest advantage might be the ability to truly listen, not just to the world around you, but to yourself.